Packers-Eagles. Eagles are a 4.5-point favorite. Over-under 45.5. The line indicates Jalen Hurts will be playing in this game. So therefore, Dylan, where are you going?
Does it?
Yes.
Are you sure? Because we saw
Tanner McKee beating them would be so funny.
Tanner McKee's
we saw
not
5.5 sixes.
Tanner McKee's not a 4.5-point favorite. You think the line would only drop 1.5 if Jalen Hurts was not playing? I think the line drops
Kenny
more.
Pickett's no slouch.
I'll be honest. If
Jalen
Hurts gets ruled out and all of a sudden the Eagles are a dog, kind of like the Eagles.
Honestly, yeah. And I think the biggest thing going into the preview here, Christian Watson being out, and Dan Orlovsky tweeted this. He was exactly right. The Packers' offense is now horizontal. Christian Watson was the only threat they had down the field, and we talked about it on this show. He's the guy that would go 3 receptions, 90 yards. He was the deep threat. And now with Watson out, they don't have that anymore.
What happened to Jaden Reed?
Jaden Reed's more of a gadget screen. Yeah, Christian Watson's really take the top off of defense.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. What happened to him, though? He was putting up these crazy games and whatnot, and then now it's just 2 receptions, 39 yards.
He was the anointed guy out of that young receiver group. Yeah.
The Packers offense, and this is what is frustrating to me, is it is the branch, the receiving branch is not deep. It's very wide. It's kind of honestly, the Chiefs is kind of what I would liken it to, except probably not as good at guys. It's like Reed cannot have a day, but then Dobbs has a day, and Wicks has a day, and it would have been Watson has a day. Musgrave. Bo Melton. I mean, they were Bo Melton. Willie, keep going, Connor. What?
Yeah.
Keep going.
Chris Brooks.
Yes. Emmanuel Wilson, running back.
Malik Willis.
That's it's tough to sit here and preview this game when we don't know if Jalen Hurts is going to play. If I had to guess, he probably would. It will depend on what the injury report comes out today. I think the Eagles are going to have a day on the ground. That's kind of why I almost think it doesn't matter who plays quarterback, or it matters less than some of these other matchups. We touched on the Packers offense being horizontal, and the Eagles have arguably one of the best rush defenses in the NFL weeks 10 through 16. I bet the Packers because I only made the Eagles a 1-point favorite, but I'm kind of regretting that now. Maybe under. I think the Eagles win.
Connor?
Yeah, I've been Mr. Philadelphia all year this year with the Eagles. I'm not going to stop this week. I think Jalen Hurts does play. If you look back all the way to the season opener, Saquon had 132 total yards, 3 touchdowns on this Packers team in Brazil. I think he has more success here. I think he's really found his groove. And as much as people wanted to, they wanted him to break the record, which fine. I think having that week off is a big deal for a running back like that who gets a ton of work per game, a ton of target, a ton of carries. Eagles are second in rush offense. They've been great all year. I like him here. I think Jalen Hurts will have time in the pocket. I think the offensive line's been playing well. And if Jalen Hurts does play and he has time in the pocket, I think the Packers are so worried about Saquon that Jalen Hurts finds success through the air. So I like the Eagles here to win and cover. Plus, Green Bay's results, if you just look at some of the games, there's some window dressing going on where it's they scored 3 late touchdowns in the fourth quarter against the Vikings after they were down 4 scores in the first half. And these results and some of these numbers and stats for Green Bay, it's not as good as it actually is if you watch the games. So I like the Eagles here.
Ben, I know you agree.
There's zero world that the Packers win this game. They're not winning this game. There's no chance they're winning this game.
There's a world. I believe there's a world.
In every important game they've played this year, they've lost. Except for, I guess, the first Bears game. They are 1-5 in the NFC North, outside of a blocked field goal away from being 0-6 in the NFC North.
There we go.
They are 0-5 against the Lions, the Eagles, and the Vikings. The 3 teams that they've played that are actually better than them. This is a team that has shown they are what they are. They are better than 2/3 of the league, half the league. Obviously, that's being, it's probably 2/3. They're a top 10-ish team in this league, but they're just not winning games. They don't have the capability, especially without Christian Watson, especially the way Jordan Love hasn't been really impressing me, especially as of late. I just don't think they have the ability to beat teams that are better than them right now. They're just a team that has been able to beat teams that are worse, those average to below average teams in the NFL. I think their season ends on Sunday afternoon. I think the Eagles win this game by 10 points. I would even love the Eagles if Tanner McKee were the quarterback.
Oh,
I like the
no.
Eagles. I think that I've come around to the Packers being. I used to say it was the Vikings were kind of the frauds. I walked that back, especially once they got to 14-2. The Packers are the real frauds, though. Frauds.
I think
Packers fraud. Put it on a clip. Put it on a quote card.
Quote card.
Packers fraud.
I'll make a note. Here we go. What's it say? Mark clip. Boom. Clip created from Marker. Listen, here, I think you're right about the Tanner McKee thing. I think the advantage that Philadelphia has is on the ground. And ultimately, I don't think who plays quarterback is going to affect the game plan that much, if you want me to be honest. But to sit here and say the Packers haven't won a big game, let's be honest, and this is to speak to your team's credit, the stat that I keep seeing going around is like they're 3-4 versus teams over 500. Well, you got to play the Lions and the Vikings twice a year. Like those are teams that are they're just better than the Packers. Like the Lions are on a league of their own.
But then the Eagles are too.
Yeah, but then eventually that game, I think there's a little bit of an asterisk on that Eagles game. In Brazil, first game of the season, weird field. But eventually you win one of those Vikings-Lions games if you're a legitimate team.
Agreed. That's my point. That's my point. Is like less the Eagles game and more those Lions-Vikings games. I think those are more telling.
2 points. First one being, I don't think the Eagles are. I think the Vikings and Lions can be on a tier above the Eagles. I think that's more than fair, a fair argument to make. Number two, you say that they need to win these games. Well, why not this week? You know, the time's running out. Why isn't it this week that they win that game?
Because Jordan Love has been playing worse as of late, and they just lost their biggest deep threat.
And that's fair. I'd agree with you there.
And they can't stop the run against the best running back in the league.
That's more
that's what I'd say.
That's more than fair. And I agree with you. I played a little devil's advocate. I do think the Eagles win this game. I think it's going to be a close one, closer than what people think, but I do think the Eagles win. And I think you're exactly right, too. The quarterback situation, I think, matters a lot less than what people are making it out to be for this matchup. Now, for divisional round, maybe not.
Is this the most exciting matchup? That's what I was going to ask. Is this the most exciting game? I don't know which game I'm more excited for. This one, I guess Vikings-Rams would be the other one.
It's Vikings-Rams, I think, for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of gross.
Also, I do want to add, I know Dylan said the stat about being 3-4 against teams that are above 500. I would like to put the asterisks on those three teams. We're talking Texans at home, I believe, the Seahawks, and then a Rams team that didn't have Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua. That beginning stretch when they had no one. They had no one on the team. Look, I'm not trying. That sounds like I'm just like Dylan. I know is playing devil's advocate here. I know he's not He's not like pounding the table for the Packers.
She said,
but it does. When you look at the resume, it's just they scream on paper frauds, in my opinion. Like, I think they were always talked about, and this isn't their fault, but they were talked about. The media machine wanted you to think, well, they could be. That they can compete with the Lions, they can compete with the Eagles, and we're putting them above the Vikings for a long stretch of that season. And I think we're learning that was garbage. But I did that too, and it was garbage. It was garbage in hindsight.
I think more of that, though, I think the Vikings exceeded expectations more than the Packers did not live up to theirs.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're not some failure of a team by any means, right? They're 11-6, made the playoffs. They would be in most years, they're a 6 seed probably instead of a 7. They're not finishing third in the division, but I do think it shows that I think there's a definite ceiling there. I think
yeah,
they're telling you you look at their games, the games they've played, they're telling you who they are. They're an above average team that really doesn't have the capability of beating teams that are better than them. And in the playoffs, they're going to have to face the Eagles. If you beat the Eagles, you're going to have to go to Detroit. I just don't see them winning 2 road games against the 2 two of the best three teams in the NFC. I know Dylan would put the Vikings above the Eagles, but I have the Eagles above the Vikings. But point stands. They've kind of proven they can't do that. I don't expect anything to change, especially with Jordan Love playing the way he is and Christian Watson being hurt.
Packers money line.
Oh no!
Oh wow!
That
came out of nowhere.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay.
No, I'm going.
I will
don't
take
care.
the Packers with the points.
No, Saquon's gonna have a great day on the ground. I don't care if Jalen Hurts, Tanner McKee, Kenny Pickett. No problem. Doesn't matter. Give me whoever at quarterback. I think they're gonna have so much success on the ground. They're gonna have success everywhere in this game. The only reason I can see the Packers winning this game is if we all of a sudden see that Jordan Love we saw last year against the 49ers and in the playoffs last year. If that
And the Cowboys,
if that dude magically comes back, then they have a shot. That's it, though. That's the only reason. It's like when you're talking about the Ohio State-Texas game. If all of a sudden we see Quinn Ewers, the one that beat Alabama on the road a year ago, then yeah, Texas can beat Ohio State. Otherwise, probably not.
Yeah, and I think even if that guy shows up, they still might not win. Like,
If that
as
guy
evident,
shows up, it's a different story. That dude is.
When's the last time he's shown up? When's the last time he's seen him?
it was 49ers.
Missing in action.
Yeah, it was
that's
the
what I'm
49ers,
saying.
and they still lost that game, you know? And I think the Eagles are a really strong team. Like, I don't think, obviously, if that guy shows up and it's Tanner McKee or Kenny Pickett, I think the Packers would win that game if last playoffs Jordan Love shows up. But like with Jalen Hurts, they might still lose that game, even if that guy shows up. That's what I think. But
We'll find out.